Perfect. Running because we have to always keep moving them. Come on, they're moving. I'm tall enough. See? Good morning. We will begin our service with the ringing of the temple bell. At this time, please silence your cell phones and listen quietly, as the sounding of the conch shell is an invitation to settle our hearts and minds as we prepare to receive the Dharma. Thank you.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Aloha! Welcome to today's Hanamatsuri Service, sponsored by the Konohongonji Buddhist Women's Association. A very special welcome to Dr. John Matsuoka for flying over from Honolulu to join us as our guest speaker.
Today, we celebrate the birth of Siddhartha Gautama, the one who would become Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha. Siddhartha Gautama was born in India on April 8, 565 BC, the son of King Suddhodana and Queen Maya. The legend tells us that at the time of his birth in the beautiful Lumbini Gardens, sweet rain fell from the heavens to bathe the baby Buddha. Birds sang and flowers burst into bloom to mark the glorious event. This is why we call the Buddha's birthday Hanamatsuri. We decorate the flower shrine or Hanamido to depict Lumbini Gardens and pour sweet tea over the statue of baby Buddha. We revere him as the great teacher who turned the wheel of Dharma for the liberation of all beings. We rejoice in being able to receive the teachings of Shakyamuni over 2,500 years after his birth.
I am Brennan Gallardo, together with my mom,
Darcy.
We will serve as your co-MCs for today's service. It is so nice to see all of you who are attending in person, as well as welcome of those of you who have zoomed in. Assisting at the temple with technical support is the Zoom crew of Ali Matsumoto, Joey Guzman, and Stephen Kaneko. Corinne Chung is our organist, and Betty Takioka will lead in the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and T. Sarana, led by Reverend Blaine. Please sing both the Pali and English parts together with him.
Namanda, Vutnamanda, 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 Vutnamanda.
Please be seated. Reverend Blaine will now share an aspiration. He will then chant the Kanmokuge Sutra, followed by the offering of sweet tea.
Please join me in Gasho. On this beautiful morning, we gather as a community of friends and fellow travelers to celebrate the wondrous birth of Siddhartha Gautama, the one who had become the Buddha, the awakened one. We adorn the shrine with flowers representing Lumbini Garden, and we pour sweet tea symbolizing the fragrant rain that fell from the sky at the moment of his birth. We rejoice in the life-giving and life-transforming teachings that he shared, which offer us wise hope for living in our deeply troubled world. As disciples of Buddha, we follow a path of radical equality, boundless compassion, and spiritual peace. May this Hanamatsuri remind us that, like the Buddha, we carry the light of hope and courage within us to stand against injustice, cruelty, and tyranny, proclaiming the truth of compassion with a lion's roar. Let us endeavor to listen to the Buddha Dharma with not just our ears, but with our entire being, and strive to embody the teachings in all that we do for the welfare and happiness of all. May we always take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows us the way in this life, the Dharma, the way of understanding and love, and the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Entrusting the dynamic working of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida, the Buddha of infinite light and life, with profound gratitude, abiding joy, and a heart-centered awareness for the miracle of each unrepeatable moment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda.
Sangha
I shall pour sweet tea on the numerous Buddhas. The wonderful virtues and pure wisdom of the Buddhas shall enable all sentient beings to cast off their defilements and be awakened to the absolute mind of the Buddha. Thus I bow in reverence to Shakyamuni Buddha, to the greatest and the noblest among all men. We now pour sweet tea of the greatest virtue and extol the Buddha of absolute purity. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu.
At this time, all Sangha members are invited to come up and offer sweet tea over the baby Buddha statue if you wish. Let's start with those who are seated in the front pews and work towards the back. Let us now observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in the chanting of the sutra, hymn in praise of the Buddha. Words can be found on page 112 in the Red Service book and on the screen. Again, page 112 in the Red Service book.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Sambutsuge, or hymn in praise of Buddha, is a poem from the larger Pure Land Sutra in which Amida Buddha, as a bodhisattva, praises his teacher and makes his 48 vows to establish the Pure Land of Enlightenment for the welfare and happiness of all beings. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken us all. The hymn in praise of Buddha. Your face shines in great splendor, boundless, wondrous dignity, such the greatness of your light, beyond all comparison, brightness of the sun and moon, and the shining mani jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds through the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, effort, meditation, wisdom are virtues beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed all the Dharma sea to the limits and the depths of all things the Buddhas teach. Ignorance, anger, and greed light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings. My giving disciplined mind, precepts, patience, and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. I will attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing to all those in fear great peace and tranquility. Though there are myriad Buddhas, beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sands, I will honor each of them, equally accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way, even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice transcendent, its people sublime and rare, land equal to nirvana, beyond all comparison. With pity for everyone, I will carry all across, all who come from 10 quarters to be born into my land, to attain pure joyful mind, peace and great tranquility. Be my witness Namannamu, 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 namannamu.
Please rise for the Gatha Happy Buddha Day. Words can be found on page 76 in the new Purple Praises of the Buddha Gatha book and on the screen. Again, page 76 on the Purple Gatha book.
The fragrant flowers bring joy everywhere. Happy Buddha Day. On baby Buddha's birthday, let us pour sweet tea. Sakura chira chira, sakura chira chira, Hanamatsuri. Birds join our chorus, warbling their sweet melodies. Happy Buddha Day. This baby Buddha's birthday is a wondrous joy. Sakura chira chira, sakura chira chira, Hanamatsuri. We hear the bells sound, ringing out everywhere. Happy Buddha Day. On Buddha's birthday, happy children sing. Sakura chira chira, sakura chira chira, Hanamatsuri.
Please be seated. This morning, I am very happy to introduce to you our guest speaker, Dr. John K. Matsuoka from Honolulu. His impressive educational background includes obtaining a Master's of Social Work from the University of Washington and a PhD in Psychology and Social Work from the University of Michigan. After his studies, he taught at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Myron B. Thompson School of Social Work for 25 years, the last 10 of which he served as the dean. Following a career in higher education, Dr. Matsuoka worked for several years in the field of philanthropy as the president and CEO of Consuelo Foundation. He currently serves on several boards and is actively involved with numerous organizations, such as In Peace, which focuses on Native Hawaiian education, the Legal Clinic, dealing with immigrant legal services, Papakolea Community Development Corporation, Hawaii Civil Rights Commission, Journal of Indigenous Social Development, and Mindful Hawaii. He was also the executive director of Hompang Hongwanji's Hawaii Betsuing from 2022 to 2024. Dr. Matsuoka resides in Papakolea Hawaiian Homestead and engages in backyard agriculture, including beekeeping. Please give a warm welcoming aloha to Dr. John Matsuoka.
Good morning. Aloha, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me as your speaker on this really important occasion. When Reverend Blaine asked me to speak, I'm like, oh, okay, I got to think about what I'm going to talk about. So, given that I was faculty at University of Hawaii for so long, I wrote out this speech, and I didn't like it. And anyway, I struggled over what I was going to talk about today, and then I just kind of threw it out the window and thought, I'm just going to talk about what I like to talk about. So anyway, so here you have it. It's also, tomorrow is my father's birthday. He was born on April 14th, 1919, and he passed away 4 years ago at age 102. And my mother passed away last year at age 100. And so, you say, oh, you're going to live a long time. You got longevity in your genes. But, it's, I grew up in LA, and I'm talking to Linda Sensei. She went to LA High School. The school down the street from where I grew up was Dorsey High School, and we were rival high schools. And but when my mom passed away, we sold the house. We just sold the house recently. They bought the house in 1960, and but we had to clean up the house and go through all the pictures and just so many boxes of pictures, and half the people I didn't know. It's like, who are these people dressed in kimono? This picture looks like it's over 100 years old. And unfortunately, we never asked. So, you're trying to clean up and not keep too much clutter, so you end up throwing them away. And what a tragedy to, have all these pictures and not knowing what they represent. They're probably ancestors. And such is the nature of how we live today. We've lost touch with ancestors. And just the value of what they knew and how they lived, and the connection that we have with ancestors, and how that's been severed because we live in this whirlwind times, and all that knowledge is being lost. But losing your parents, I think, is really it just, when you think about impermanence, what does that mean? And so here I am now in my late 60s, and there's no buffer, right? There's no parents, so we're up next. And, but, it really gets you to think about impermanence. And impermanence, the meaning of impermanence is really about the meaning of life. It forces you to ponder, like, what does all this mean, right? So, my career has been, I went to college for so many years, and I jumped right into academia, and then I went into philanthropy, and then I ended up at Honganji Betsuin, of all places. And it's been a blur. It's like, you're climbing this ladder, you're working your okole off, and you're just, life is a blur. And at a certain point, while you're in the midst of this blur, you're just thinking, at some point, I'm going to try and figure this all out. Because up until that time, you're on auto drive. Like, okay, how do I get tenure? Okay, what? And I've always been kind of an outlier, a change agent, if you will. And so I've always struggled. For some reason, I've kind of, maybe I hid my intentions well, but I always kind of came to a position where, okay, now I have some control. I can call the shots. And in any institution, whether it be the University of Hawaii or philanthropy or Honganji, people don't want change. Change is like the worst thing that you can do in an institution, despite the fact they need change. Because if they don't change, they're not going to be around. But so in the course of time, I got a lot of scar tissue, and I made a lot of enemies. Not because I'm a bad guy. I don't think I'm a bad guy with bad intentions. People just don't like change, and you become the boogeyman that those things have to change, but people don't like it. They're very uncomfortable. And I forgot to say that Kona is a very special place for me. You know, my uncle went to Colorado, and during the war, I was talking to Judge Matsunaga about internment camp, and you know, my father's side, to avoid internment camp, they made a beeline to Colorado, and they spent the war years in Colorado. And so my uncle, my dad was already in the military, and my uncle was classmates with Herbo Kano at Greeley College. And so we would come to Kona, and we would go visit Herbo Kano up on his farm, and he was such a good, he told the best ghost stories. He would, like, you know, thinking about it, I would stay awake at night, remembering his ghost stories. But and my dad, who was director of public relations for Honda for most of his career, was very, very good friends with Allison Onizuka. And so Allison, every time he would come to LA, they would go out and eat sushi because he couldn't get good sushi in Houston. And so, and when I first started working at UH, you know, what I realized was Hawaii was going through this transformation. And I remember coming to Kona as a kid, and it was this very pastoral place, and the people were, you know, just this sense of community. And when I came back to Hawaii and started working at the university and started traveling around to different island communities, I realized these places are changing really fast. And you know, so that became my program of research, was to study change related to development in Hawaii. And we did a lot of work in this part of Hawaii Island. We did the spaceport study, and I spent a lot of time in Ka'u when the Riviera Resort was being proposed for Ka'u. We did the study that would have impacted Miloli'i. And so we spent a lot of time down in the last Hawaiian fishing village in Miloli'i. And you know, that was just this knockdown, drag-out battle with wanting to redo the entire district of Ka'u that would have affected the fishing grounds of Miloli'i, and also Koloko, Honokahau, and work with the Paiohana. So that kind of became my program of research, and all the while working very closely with the Hawaiian community. And so I learned a lot from working with Hawaiians, and learned so much about ancestral worship, the meaning of ancestors, the ike, the knowledge of kupuna, and the value of all of that. And something that I didn't necessarily get growing up as a Japanese person, because, you know, after the war, we were talking to Judge, you know, my mother's side settled in Vista, California, north of San Diego. And, you know, my grandmother was the only grandparent that I knew growing up. The others had passed on already. And she came from Toyama province in Japan, and very few Japanese came from Toyama to the US, and including Hawaii. And it was a tough life. It was very much a hardscrabble life. There was so much prejudice and discrimination. And you know, my grandfather, they were farmers, and which is probably another reason why I feel so comfortable in Kona. They were farmers, and they couldn't own land because it was against the law, so they had to lease land. And my grandfather would lease land from the white landowner and would clear the land of rocks and trees and make it suitable for cultivation. And right when he was ready to plant, they would break the lease. And he went through a series of this kind of, you know, experience until he died. And he died very young. My mom was only a teenager. And then the war broke out, and they got evacuated to Poston, Arizona, concentration camp. And so my grandmother was a widow with 2 children, and lost everything, whatever material possession that she had. But she was a staunch Buddhist, and she it was never really quite said, but Buddhism saved her. Right? It helped her gain perspective on the suffering and all of the hardship that she had experienced. And it's kind of hopefully you'll stay for the film that we're going to show today. But all of the women in the film talk about Buddhism, how Buddhism saved them. And I think about what that means. Buddhism saves you. It's very different than the concept of being saved by Jesus. Right? So, where you kind of give yourself over to the Savior versus Buddhism gives you a context for understanding suffering. It gives you a context for understanding suffering relative to growth and spiritual growth. And but yeah, that's a very different concept. And I was like I said, my career has been so packed with just like doing this and trying to make a difference and trying to change and being under siege by people that don't want change, and it took me to so many different places. I worked for a foundation that did most of its work in the Philippines, and so I went to the Philippines every month, and I went to the poorest places in the Philippines that were just, you can't imagine people living under those conditions and just having so many children and not being able to feed the children and no shelter and living on the streets and really their meaning to life came from the Catholic Church, and Catholicism is what kept them afloat. And but you also saw the flip side to Catholicism. After the war, like many Japanese on the West Coast that were raised Buddhist, they became Christian. And so I was raised Methodist, and I went to the Methodist church, and I was pretty good about going to church every Sunday. And then you just you drift. So I drifted away from the church and went off to college and did my own thing and at one point after we had our sons, my wife says to me, my wife is she's actually born in Hilo area, Kurdistan. Her family is from Keaukaha. So she's Hawaiian and raised Hawaiian Christian. So out of the blue, she says, we got to raise our children in a church. And I go, really? Okay, never dawned on me. Okay, well, if you like that, I'm a good husband. So if you want to, okay, no problem. So what church? He says, oh, well, I know the pastor at I forget the name of the church in Kalihi. I said, why you like go to a Christian church? They stole your people's land. And so the compromise was that we would go to a Buddhist temple. I said, I've always been curious about Buddhism. My family lineage comes from Buddhism. And so we ended up going to Mo'iliili, Honkanji, for several years and raising our kids there and really felt comfortable there. But again, always in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, at some point I got to come back to being spiritual, and because the world of work and professionalism just sucks it out of you. You just focus on career, and prior to that, education, and you're on the fast track, and at some point in time, just got to come back to me, and I got to come back to understanding what all of this means. And so it was probably by no accident, and especially after my dad passed away, that I, maybe against my better judgment, took the job at Hompo Honganji Hawaii Matsuoka and served as executive director for 3 years. I have to be careful about what I say, but let me just say that after the first month, I knew it was a bad fit. But, you know, being Japanese and you know, taking judo and all these things, like, I stuck it out for 3 years. But, you know, I'm kind of out of sorts with this, because I really believe in the value of Buddhism. And I believe in it and what it means to, you know, to the world, and what it means to humanity, especially today. Institutional religion is another story. And so that's my dilemma. But Buddhism can do so much for the world. In a world where especially young people, I think, are losing hope. And they don't, there's no answers. And they're flocking away from organized religion, from Catholicism and Protestantism, but when they do that, there's no answers, right? They're just they're you know, they're in this world of confusion, and now we have this country going in this direction that really lacks empathy, and so Buddhism, I think, presented in a relevant way, can provide grounding, so much grounding for people. And so when I was at Reverend Blaine, tell me if I'm talking too long, because I could go on. So just give me like some signal. But when I was at Honganji, we tried a lot of different things. And what we were talking about earlier, you know, Hompo Honganji, from its inception, has been very Japanese. And it's a religion in Hawaii that's over 100 years old. When I moved to Hawaii in the 80s, over a third of the population was Japanese. Today, it's less than 18%. And so if Honganji is going to be ethnocentric about this, we're not going to exist. And when I first took the job at Honganji, they had this conference, The Future of Buddhism in America, in New York, and Reverend Blaine was there, and he helped me get registered. And I went, and I go, wow, there was such a mixture of people. There's a big contingent of African Americans that were Buddhist. I go, that must be the Tina Turner effect. But then I was just kind of bewildered. Well, not bewildered, but I just kind of marveled at, you know, this is not my grandmother's Buddhism. This is a Buddhism that you know, I think we need to kind of move towards. We need to be inclusive, and in doing so, it becomes a different brand. My friend, I mean, one of the real beauties of being at Honganji was I met some amazing people, and one of whom was George Tanabe. And George Tanabe, you know, one of his quotes, and I just said it the other day, was Buddhism originated in India, and then it moved to China, and it became Chinese. And then it moved to Korea, and it became Korean. Then it moved to Japan, and it became Japanese. Then it moved from Japan to Hawaii, and it stayed Japanese. And that's not going to work anymore. I mean, just the mere fact that the Japanese population is declining so rapidly. So we try to do a lot of things. When I was there, we had, you know, one of the things that we tried to do that hopefully if you stay for the film, you'll see, was to bring back the legacy of Mary Mikahala Foster, the first Hawaiian Buddhist, and all that she did for Buddhism. And she actually, there was some debate about whether or not she gifted the land to Honganji or she sold the land to Honganji. So we actually found the contract. So she sold the land to Honganji for a very small amount, and upon which the Honganji Mission Hawaii was built. And she was promptly forgotten. It's like, go figure that. I mean, she was so dedicated to Buddhism, and Buddhism saved her. She was going through the trauma of all these things, including the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. She was very close friends with the queen, and Buddhism saved her. And so that link, and Hawaiians knew that link. When you look at the lineage of Hawaiian women Buddhists that are depicted in the film, they knew that link, beginning with Mary Foster and the influence of the queen. But the Honganji kind of forgot about that link. And so what we try to do is bring that back into the fold. Let's remember that and let's appreciate that. And so thus we made this film about Mary Foster and this lineage of Hawaiian women Buddhists. We started doing huaka'i. We went to on field trips to Waianae. And surprisingly, people signed up. We filled the bus to go to Waianae, mostly of Honganji people. And you never know how these things are going to turn out, right? Like, hey, we're going to do this, and we have friends in Waianae, and we're going to go to sacred sites, to learn about Mo'olelo and these really significant places related to Hawaiian spirituality. And we filled the bus, and people were telling me that was an incredible experience. I was born and raised on Oahu, and I've never been there. I go, wow, you don't get out much, huh? So, but there, again, we're at this threshold where we have to begin to establish those linkages. We have to begin to reach out. And the beauty of Buddhism, I think, is in this land. If we really have to begin to understand where we are and the spirituality that emanates from this place, and it will begin to transform Buddhism. And in the process, I think we can open ourselves up to more people, and we will survive as a religion, as a philosophy, and not so much, the ethnic part of it is going to fade away. But Buddhism will survive and continue on. Anyway, I could talk for a long time. I think my time is up. Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor.
Thank you for your Buddha Day message, Dr. Matsuoka. Auntie Glenda Yamagata will lead us in the unison reading of homages. Words can be found on page 2 of the Red Service book and on the screen. Again, page 2 of the Red Service book, and please join her in the reciting of the words out loud.
Good morning. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living in it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation in this present life, we may not be free from ill-faring in the ocean of births and deaths for kalpas. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures. We go to the Buddha for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depth of teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we all with one accord live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriads of kalpas, hard it is to hear such excellent and profound teachings. Now we are able to hear and receive them. Let us try to understand the Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo for your generosity. Please rise as we will conclude this service with the singing of the Gatha Nambusu.
Namanda, it's 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 Namanda, Namanda, it's Namanda.
You may be seated. This concludes today's Hanamatsuri service. Here are some announcements, upcoming schedules of services and events and reminders.
From 1:30 to 2:45 this afternoon, there will be a special free film screening of the 45-minute documentary video produced by our guest speaker, Dr. John Matsuoka, entitled Na Wahine Buddha Kiakahi, The Legacy of Hawaiian Women Buddhists. Please plan to return to the temple and join us for the most interesting video. Dr. Matsuoka will be available for questions and answers following the video.
There will be no service next Sunday, April 20th. Sunday, April 27th, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 a.m. Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message.
Sunday, May 4th, we will celebrate Mothers and Children's Day service at 10 a.m. The guest speaker will be Ms. Emi Hashi, Hawaii Kyodang Youth Specialist. After the service, the Kona Honganji Judo Club will conduct mochitsuki in the area fronting the social hall. Everyone is invited to participate by enjoying their mochi bar and sampling all kinds of interesting and yummy goodies to garnish your mochi with. You can even try your skills at mochi pounding, so please plan to join us. Sunday, May 11th, will be baccalaureate service at 10 a.m. Guest speaker will be Mahina Paishan, co-founder and CEO of Vai Vai Collection. We will be honoring all 2025 graduates from high school, 2 to 4 or 4-year colleges, master's and doctoral programs, as well as professional schools. So if you have a child or grandchild that will be or has graduated, please let the temple office know by Monday, April 28th. Sunday, May 18th, we'll be observing Gotane service at 10 a.m. Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message.
Any other announcements, Reverend Blaine or anyone else?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Brendan and Darcy, for always doing a great job being MCs. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I want to thank Dr. John Matsuoka for being our guest speaker today. It's always good to see he's an old friend from Mo'ili'ili, Honganji again. A lot of good people come from Mo'ili'ili, yeah. But I also want a big mahalo to everybody who donated flowers to adorn the Hanamido. Thank you. I know we were kind of struggling to get flowers this year for the Hanamido, but it turned out beautifully. Thank you very much to Cheryl and Nathan Kurashige, to Paulino Shiro, to Elaine Sugiyama, and who am I missing? And Susan Miyashita. So thank you very much for decorating the Hanamido again this year. Also, a big mahalo to the BWA for making manju again this year. Everyone worked really hard yesterday. It was a fun time. So you can pick up your manju after the service, yeah? Also, thank you very much to Morris Nagata for the fruits on the altar and the flowers on the altar as well. Always amazing what he has on his property. So thank you. Yeah, so you can also see the manju on the altar that was made yesterday by the members and friends of the BWA. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for being here and for being part of our Hanamatsuri service. It's a very special day as we celebrate the birth of the Buddha. Dr. John was mentioning about being grounded in the land, about being grounded in place and remembering where we come from, right? And so I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but our Amida statue, our Gohonzon, our statue of Amida Buddha, is quite special here at Kono Honganji, right? That it's made of sandalwood, right? And that sandalwood was harvested here on the slopes of Kelikikua, right? And so, right, we are grounded here in this community. This is our home. This is where we come from. This Amida comes from here as well, right? But the piece of wood was sent to Japan to be carved back in 1928 or so, and returned to us about 1932, right? So I think we can all feel really proud and feel that sense of connection to the land, to the Aina here in Kona. So again, thank you for coming, and mahalo. Happy Buddha Day, everybody.
And at this time, because there's going to be so much action going on in the social hall, before we go there, we're going to sing happy birthday to the Buddha. So we have a cake.
Once again, mahalo to Dr. John Matsuoka for being our guest speaker for today. Those of you on Zoom may leave at any time. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the social hall. Much appreciation to the BWA members for preparing refreshments and their famous manju. Your pre-ordered manju can be picked up in the social hall and at the conclusion for this service. Please stay safe and keep current with the measles situation and by opening the flyers attached to Reverend Blaine's weekly email update. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at this afternoon's video presentation by Dr. John Matsuoka, as well as the upcoming services. Mahalo. Did you? Huh? Did you get manju? Can you?